There are some stories in history so bizarre, so outlandish, so completely ridiculous, they sound like they came from a sci-fi movie or a poorly researched meme. But guess what? They're 100% real, documented, verified. From exploding whales to presidents fighting deadly duels to ancient civilizations that invented things we still use today, these facts will make you stop and say, wait, that actually happened? Let's dive into 5 weird, wild, and absolutely true side of history you were never taught in school. Number 1. The Great Whale Explosion of 1970. It sounds like a joke. A whale washes up on an Oregon beach. It's too big to move, so local officials decide the best solution is to blow it up with dynamite. That's not a cartoon plot. That actually happened. In November 1970, an 8-ton sperm whale carcass washed ashore near Florence, Oregon. The smell was overwhelming. Officials feared it would rot for weeks. So, in an attempt to dispose of the body, they used 20 cases of dynamite, over 900 pounds of explosives. Their goal? Blast the whale into tiny, seagull-friendly pieces. What happened instead? A catastrophic mess. When the explosion went off, a massive chunk of whale launched hundreds of feet into the air and came crashing down on a parked car, flattening it completely. Other pieces rained down like meat confetti over hundreds of yards. Reporters ran for cover. People screamed. The beach was covered in whale guts. Spoiler alert, the dynamite didn't work. Most of the whale remained and had to be buried manually. Today, the exploding whale has become an iconic internet video and even inspired Oregon to name its official explosives policy the Blubber Act. It may sound like something out of a sitcom, but this is real American history, and it's just the beginning. Number 2. Napoleon was once attacked by a horde of bunnies. When you think of Napoleon Bonaparte, you probably picture a brilliant general, a ruthless emperor, a conqueror of Europe. But what you probably don't imagine is this: Napoleon being chased across a field by hundreds of fluffy rabbits. Yes, this happened, and it's one of the strangest footnotes in military history. In 1807, after signing the Treaty of Tilsit, Napoleon wanted to celebrate the peace with a grand outdoor rabbit hunt for his generals. His chief of staff, Alexandre Berthier, was put in charge of organizing the event. So far, so good. Berthier's team prepared everything: tents, wine, food, and of course the most important part, the rabbits. Lots of them. But instead of sourcing wild hares, Berthier's staff bought up to 3,000 domesticated rabbits from local farmers. And that's where everything went wrong. You see, wild rabbits might scatter when released into the open. But farm-raised rabbits? They're used to being fed by humans. So when the cages were opened, instead of running away in fear, the rabbits saw Napoleon and his generals in fancy uniforms and thought, lunchtime. Thousands of rabbits charged. At first it was funny, a cute moment, a photo op if photos had existed then. But then it got overwhelming. The wave of rabbits didn't stop. They started swarming feet, climbing onto legs, chasing soldiers, chasing Napoleon himself. The emperor tried shooing them away. His men used sticks, swords, even shotguns. Nothing worked. The rabbits were relentless. Eventually, Napoleon retreated, laughing but also thoroughly embarrassed. The man who had defeated the armies of Austria, Prussia, and Italy was defeated by bunnies. Historians often skip this event because, well, it sounds ridiculous. But several eyewitness accounts confirm it. And today, it lives on as one of the greatest you-can't-make-this-up moments in world history. So next time someone tells you that Napoleon feared tall people, you can correct them and say, no, but he definitely feared rabbits. Number 3. The US once built a bat bomb during World War II. World War II was a time of desperation, innovation, and some downright bizarre military experiments. But among the weirdest of them all was this: the United States seriously developed a bomb filled with bats. Not metaphorically, actual living bats. Here's the story. In 1942, a Pennsylvania dentist named Dr. Lytle S. Adams had an idea after visiting bat-filled caves in New Mexico. What if we could weaponize bats? He proposed attaching tiny incendiary devices to thousands of bats, releasing them over enemy territory. The bats would fly into attics, barns, and rooftops, then ignite once inside, starting countless fires simultaneously. Believe it or not, the U.S. military approved the idea. It was codenamed Project X-Ray. Over the next year, the Army and Navy tested the plan using Mexican free-tailed bats. They built refrigerated canisters to keep the bats in hibernation, dropped them from bombers, and then released them mid-air. And it worked, kind of. In one test at a New Mexico airfield, the bats flew into buildings and accidentally burned down parts of the U.S. base. Even a general's car went up in flames. Whoops. Despite the chaos, the military remained interested. They calculated that bat bombs could potentially start more fires per payload than conventional bombs. It was cheap, it was stealthy, and it weaponized nature, but in 1944 the project was abruptly scrapped. Why? Because the atomic bomb was almost ready. Compared to nuclear weapons, flaming bats suddenly seemed outdated. Still, Project X-Ray cost over $2 million at the time, equivalent to tens of millions today. And to this day, it remains one of the strangest, most real attempts at biological warfare in U.S. history. Just imagine, if the Manhattan Project had taken longer, we might have seen the skies of Japan filled not with planes, but with flaming bats. It sounds like a superhero origin story gone wrong, but it's 100% true. Documented, declassified, and genuinely considered by U.S. military scientists. So next time someone tells you history is boring, remind them. America almost fought World War II with bat bombs. If any of these facts blew your mind, hit like and drop a comment with the word fake but true. Let's see who's paying attention. Number 4. A war was fought over a wooden bucket. You've heard of wars over land, wars over religion, wars over gold, oil, and even love. But have you ever heard of a war fought over a wooden bucket? Let's rewind to 1325 in northern Italy. Two rival city-states, Modena and Bologna. These weren't small towns arguing over farmland. Back in medieval Italy, city-states like these were powerful, proud, and constantly at odds over territory, trade, and status. But in this case, it wasn't about politics or ideology. According to legend, a group of Modenese soldiers snuck into Bologna, raided the city's central well, and stole a wooden water bucket. Yep, a bucket from a well. Bologna was furious. They demanded the bucket's return. Modena refused, and just like that, war broke out. It became known as the War of the Oaken Bucket. Tens of thousands of troops were called in. Skirmishes turned into battles. Eventually, in the Battle of Zappolino, Modena emerged victorious, using clever tactics and overwhelming force. Their final insult? They kept the bucket as a trophy. To this day, that same bucket is displayed in Modena's Torre della Ghirlandina, like a medieval mic drop. Now, historians debate whether the bucket was the true cause or just a symbolic insult added later. But here's what's documented. The war was real. The fighting happened. And the bucket is still in a museum. Let's put that in perspective. Other nations were battling for control of empires. These guys went to war over a water pail. The War of the Oaken Bucket proves something hilarious and a little tragic. Sometimes human pride is more powerful than logic. And if that sounds ridiculous, just remember that thousands of people fought and died because someone refused to give a bucket back. Number 5. A pope once declared war on cats, and it backfired horribly. It sounds like a medieval meme. A pope bans cats and ends up helping cause one of the deadliest pandemics in human history. But this strange and chilling story is absolutely real. Let's go back to the 1200s when Pope Gregory IX was head of the Catholic Church. He wasn't a fan of cats. In fact, he believed they were linked to devil worship. In 1233, Gregory issued a papal bull, an official church decree called Vox in Rama. In it, he condemned the black cat in particular, describing it as the incarnation of Satan. Suddenly, in cities and villages across Europe, cat killing became holy work. Tens of thousands of felines, especially black ones, were slaughtered by religious zealots and terrified villagers. It wasn't just a superstition, it became church policy. But here's the unintended consequence. A century later, the Black Death, the deadliest pandemic in recorded history, swept across Europe, carried by fleas who lived on rats. And what's one of nature's best defenses against rat infestations? Cats. With the cat population devastated by decades of persecution, rats multiplied uncontrollably, spreading plague faster and further than ever before. From 1347 to 1351, the Black Death killed an estimated 25 to 50 million people, nearly half of Europe's population. Now, to be fair, the church wasn't the only reason the plague spread. Poor sanitation, trade routes, and medical ignorance played major roles. But historians agree that the systematic destruction of cats certainly didn't help. In fact, it likely made things worse. All because of a papal decree that treated cats as satanic messengers instead of the public health champions they actually were. So yes, it's true. A pope once declared war on cats. And that decision may have helped turn the Black Death into a medieval apocalypse. Sometimes the line between superstition and disaster might just razor thin. So, what did we learn today? History isn't just kings and wars and dusty textbooks. It's weird, hilarious, unbelievable, and sometimes downright ridiculous. From exploding whales to rampaging bunnies, flaming bat bombs to medieval bucket wars, and even a pope accidentally setting up a pandemic. These aren't just fun facts. They're reminders that humans, no matter the century, are wildly creative, deeply irrational, and endlessly fascinating. And just when you think it can't get any weirder, here's a quick-fire lightning round of more strange but true history facts that didn't make the full list. President Andrew Jackson had a pet parrot that swore so badly, it had to be removed from his funeral. No joke. Guests were shocked by the bird's language. Cleopatra lived closer to the invention of the iPhone than to the construction of the Great Pyramid. The pyramid was ancient even to her. Winston Churchill once got stuck in a South African prison and escaped by scaling a bathroom wall. That's some James Bond energy. In 1945, a man survived the atomic bomb in Hiroshima, then traveled to Nagasaki and survived that bomb too. His name was Tsutomu Yamaguchi, and yes, he lived to tell the tale. In medieval times, animals were put on trial and even executed for crimes. Pigs, goats, rats, you name it. If it broke the law, it faced a judge. Every single one of these stories? Verified, documented, 100% real. So next time someone says, "That sounds made up," ask them this. Have you ever heard of Napoleon being attacked by rabbits? Because the truth is, history is stranger than fiction. If you love this deep dive into the weird side of the past, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more episodes like this. Tell us in the comments, which of these stories blew your mind the most? Or watch this video about ancient inventions. Thanks for watching, and remember, the past is full of surprises.